What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Roadhouse. To get straight to the point, skills in PoE 2, I feel, have some major problems that's kind of holding them back, that sets it aside from PoE 1. Um, First issue I guess I could talk about is mana problems. Mana is just absolutely insane, especially for like a warrior. Now, if you look at mace skills, I mean, this is an level 18 gem, for example. Like Bone Shatter, 64 mana, 59, Rolling Slam, 101. Warriors have almost no mana. So, I mean, like, if you look over at elemental skills, like Flame Wall, 99, 66, 88, 50, 115, 53. I mean, most of these mace skills cost almost as much mana as these elemental skills for a class that's going to have maybe thousands of mana compared to a few hundred. It doesn't really make any sense. And imagine you're already struggling on mana and you get a new weapon and it's amazing. I mean, it gives like +5 level to all of your skills. Okay, that sounds great. This weapon's amazing, has a huge DPS boost, but now all of a sudden your skills cost way too much mana and you can't even cast them. That's just a huge issue going right now. I feel like this will probably be solved in the future, but I figured I would cover it while I'm talking about skills. Um, as for my second issue, I think that the levels on these skills are way too high. Uh, if you look at this page, this is Path of Exile 1. Every single gem type, the highest level is 34. The only exception being Arcanist brand at level 38. So by level 34, which is in the middle of Act 3 in PoE 1, you're going to be able to have access to every single skill in the game. Now, you may have to do the side quest for Siosa or something to be able to actually get the gem, but you have access to every single gem in the game at that level. In Path of Exile 2, that's completely different. These skills require you to be level 52 to get the last tier. And that's coming towards the end of the story, towards Act 5 and 6. And I mean, like, for example, whenever I first started the game, I wanted to play Flicker Strike. That was all I wanted to do. I want to log in, get to Flicker Strike as soon as possible, and have fun blasting. But as soon as I log in, I see, okay, it's for level 52. I basically have to beat the entire story and get to maps to even be able to play the skill that I wanted to play. That's way too excessive in my opinion. The levels definitely need to be crunched down. Um, I feel like probably the same as PoE 1. By sometime around Act 3, you should be able to have access to all of your skills and kind of do what you want from that. On to my biggest issue that I have with skills, and something I don't really see a lot of people talking about, is the fact that skills are just way too restricted, in my opinion. In Path of Exile 1, again, say Flicker Strike, perfect example. If you want to play Flicker Strike, generally you do something like swords because it's easier to sustain your charges, your frenzy charges in PoE 1. But there are other alternatives. You know, if you're going sword, usually you can lean into like a crit heavy build. But for example, one league I use the mace Katava's Thirst. Big two-handed mace makes all of your strike skills deal splash, essentially giving my Flicker Strike a 7 link. But I was building around maces, not swords, so there was a lot of differences. You know, I took where I can't crit, but I never miss, so that way, you know, I'm not building around crit nodes for sword, so it didn't really matter too much. So I just go straight for damage and stuff like that. That's an option that you have in PoE 1. You could do these different things. But in PoE 2, quarterstaff. Only quarterstaff. If you want to play Flicker Strike, you're going to have to use a quarterstaff. There's no option of maybe using an axe or a mace or a sword or any of these other weapon types to try and give it some variety. Now that's the same for a lot of other skills. Of course, some of these make sense, like mace slams. I can see earthquake, slamming the ground, exploding it into a huge thing. That makes sense to be a mace skill. But I mean, plenty of other examples like glacial cascade. You sweep across the ground. This could have some other stuff added to it. Maybe like a sword, sweep it across the ground, and it does it kind of almost like Count Geonor does. Makes a lot of sense. Ice Strike, even. Ice
Strike is a combo of 3 cold attacks.
That skill definitely looks like it could probably be perfectly fine with an axe or a sword, even something like that. Tempest Flurry is a little bit different. You got like the whole mace or quarterstaff combo going on there, where it's a lot faster and smoother. Kind of seems like it was perfectly built for quarterstaff, in my opinion. So yet again, I understand, but another example, you can't build combo, like Tempest Bell. If you build combo, you could put this down with a quarterstaff. Okay, fine, it's latched to quarterstaff. Maybe you have to use this in your second hand, but you can't even build that combo up with other types right now. Like if I wanted to, I tested this. If I wanted to use a mace and then swap and use a quarterstaff, slam down the bell after I built up combo by striking stuff like it says, I can't do that because the other skills just don't build up any combo, which is very unfortunate and yet again limits some build diversity options that you have. Going on to like maces. Again, like I said, Earthquake, it makes sense to be kind of a mace skill. But one big thing that you had in PoE 1 you could do with slams is you could do these unarmed. You get Facebreaker or an item like that gives you a lot of damage while unarmed. And then you're able to make an entire new playstyle where you don't even use a weapon and work around that. And that's just completely gone. You don't even have the option. If you want to do this, it's maces only, period. And why are we removing these extra options? A perfect strike. I mean, you just taking your weapon, channeling, and then just smacking it at the perfect time to try to get a hit. Like, why does this have to be restricted to only maces? I really don't get it. And as more weapons come out, swords, axes, flails, like, why can't I perfect strike with a flail? Like, a flail is almost like a mace. It's, a big, heavy object that you're doing something with. You can't charge that up and then just smack something with it. I mean, that makes sense to me. Again, crossbows, like grenades even. Imagine if they took grenades and made it just anything. Like, say I wanted to play a mercenary that purely uses a sword for roleplay reasons or something, and I want to throw grenades, like, you're forced into having to do weapon swaps and trying to find a good crossbow for it, which is all doable. It's possible, but yet again, it's limiting your options. Let's see. For example, I was looking at Glacial Hammer. This skill's called Glacial Hammer. That's the name of the skill in PoE 1. And you can do this with a mace, a scepter, or a staff. Like, if you want to be take a physical staff or elemental and just smack the fuck out of something with this, you can do that. And that gives it another layer of build diversity, because staffs have like block nodes and stuff. You can do that two-hand without going shield. and they have their own passive nodes on the tree that maybe lend you towards an entire new area of the tree that you wouldn't have gone before. And again, this is something I feel people just really aren't talking about. The You're really pigeonholed in these builds, I feel. Um, Even traps are coming out soon, and as far as I'm aware, traps are a weapon type now. They're their own weapon type. So not only do we have the trap skills, but you have to actually have a trap weapon to be able to throw them, which is cool, kind of okay. But then again, if you're required to have that trap weapon, that again limits, because in Path of Exile 1, generally you would use a staff or a wand, I mean, for most skills, but you can also use something like a dagger, like spell daggers, to be able to throw traps. And you know, there's just different reasons why you might have these other options, but again, Path of Exile 2 is extremely limiting, and I feel if they were to let this stuff up, crunch this stuff down a little bit so you could get it and experiment with it earlier, it would be great. And that's pretty much all I have to say. Hope you've enjoyed me rambling. If so, maybe like and subscribe. New to YouTube, so I'm just trying to get going. If you have any video suggestions for stuff you would want to see, maybe let me know. Thanks, guys.